Hello and welcome to this weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Greek. And on these weekend editions, several times we've been able to mention two series that are very helpful for people as you work through the Greek New Testament: the Baylor Handbook on the Greek Text series and the Exegetical Guide to the Greek New Testament series. So the Egg and Tea and then the Baylor Handbook series. And these are paperback volumes that just go phrase by phrase through books of the New Testament. Amazing resources, both sets, and they just very helpful for beginning, intermediate, even advanced Greek students as they work through a book of the New Testament, being able to have a scholar beside them, so to speak, in that paperback volume if they have a question or they're confused by construction. Prior to the Baylor Handbook, prior to the Egg and Tea, what did older students had? Older students had Zerwick. And some of my some early review I did of the Egg and Tea, I said this is like Zerwick on steroids. And the Zerwick that I'm speaking of is this one volume. You can tell this is an old volume. I'm sure it has a better cover now. If you can still, I assume you can still get this. It's entitled "An Analysis of the Greek New Testament," and it just goes again word by word, phrase through phrase by phrase through the entire Greek New Testament. So obviously it's not going to be very detailed but he tries to comment on different syntactical usages, strange constructions that it's basically the scholars say, what would my intermediate students be confused by? And very, very brief, very abbreviated comments. It's published by the Biblical Institute Press of Rome, and this is the one that was revised by Mary Grosvenor. So Maximilian Zerwick, you got to love that name. I mean, that is a name. Maximilian Zerwick is the author of this. I believe he's a priest. And then it was revised. I believe Mary Grosvenor is a nun. You can see it's published by in Rome by the Biblical Institute Press. It's as far as I've noted in using it, it is just grammatical and syntactical. I have not personally noticed any theological bias in it, but we all have bias that comes out. So just be aware that it is produced by a Catholic priest and revised by a nun. Maximilian Zerwick, if you know that name, you may also be familiar with his intermediate grammar, Biblical Greek. And so I just pulled that off the shelf here, Biblical Greek, illustrated by examples by Maximilian Zerwick. And the English edition is adapted from the Fourth Latin edition and it's published by Joseph Smith. Obviously, not the Mormon Joseph Smith, but by someone who has the same name as him. And again, it's published by the out of Rome by the Biblical Institute Press. There, occasionally you'll have when you're working through a commentary or something, you'll see it's often abbreviated with a Z for Zerwick, and it'll have a section number because it's organized by sections as well as pages. He knew Greek very well, and occasionally there's just this really wonderful nugget of some observation that where he brings together and just really explains with clarity things that I have not learned elsewhere. So I have found his grammar, though I haven't sat down and read through the whole thing. I've referenced it over the years in different times and found it very helpful. So I just want to make you aware of those two things: the grammatical analysis and an analysis of the Greek New Testament, right here, an analysis of the Greek New Testament. The full name is a grammatical analysis of the Greek New Testament. And I just usually refer to this as Zerwick. And then this is his grammar, Biblical Greek.